Hey Tommy, I've got some exciting news to share with you because Acura just dropped the brand new second generation TLX, and what are we going to be talking about in this video?
Well, we're going to talk about everything you need to know about the brand new 2021 model because there are so many changes. We're going to talk about the exterior design, the engines, the platform, the interior, and really get you the lowdown on this brand new Acura model.
And most importantly, we're also going to be talking about what's over our left shoulder, the Type S, which is of course the performance version of the TLX. But to put it in kind of the automotive hierarchy, let's talk about first the cars that it competes against. And those are, the standard sporty sedans, including the Audi A4, maybe the S4 with the Type S, the 3 Series, the mercedes-benz C-Class, Infiniti Q50, Alfa Romeo Giulia.
And the S60 for Volvo, and maybe even the electric car.
And yes, maybe even the Tesla Model 3. All right, so let's get to it. Let's start with the highlights, and then we'll work our way down and talk about styling, size, performance, and of course, the fact that it is now available in all-wheel drive and all engine choices. And then finally, we'll get down to the Type S, because that's the one I think people want to hear about. But let's talk about the most important thing, styling.
Yeah, absolutely. So this new 2020 TLX is modeled after a car that debuted at the Monterey Car Week. It was a concept called the Type S concept, and it was a radical departure for Acura design. It was super aggressive, very sporty, much better looking than some of the Acura sedans we've seen before. And this production model looks quite similar to that concept.
Yeah, I think it's important here to note that this rides on a brand new platform, so it's not an evolution. It's actually a completely new chassis with actually 2 engine choices, but we'll get to that in a second. Let's keep going with styling. So we've got not only, I guess I'd consider it a little bit of the beak left, right?
There's no beak left. That's not a beak. No.
The first TLX was known for having that kind of birdie beak.
Triangle thing.
Yeah. There's still a little bit of that, but not as much. The main important thing about it is that they've kind of made it much more aggressive in a way. They've added that kind of Coke bottle.
Yeah, with like the rear haunches in the rear.
Yeah, the rear haunches are much wider. I think it's a handsome looking car. What do you think?
I think it looks great. I'm not sold on the like the diamond grille.
Yeah.
I do like these new headlights. I think they are very sleek. And the new wheel and tire options are brilliant. I think they're pretty cool designs. Compared to something like the C-Class, this looks like it's in a whole different world in terms of design. That looks like your more traditional German sedan. This looks very Japanese, but it also looks extremely high performance, even on the entry-level cars.
Yeah, the jewel-eyed headlights are starting to grow on me. When they first came out, I remember looking at them thinking they look a little bit buggy.
Yeah, right. They look like spiders.
Yeah, but now maybe I've gotten used to them, but they do look better. I see a little bit of Audi in the front of the vehicle. It's got a little bit of that Audi-esque kind of grille and horizontal lines intersecting in kind of interesting ways. But all in all, I think they've done a much better job. And talking about a much better and bigger job, the car is bigger. Why don't you go over the size?
Yeah, so it's 3.7 inches longer in the wheelbase in the outgoing model and 2.2 inches wider. So definitely a larger vehicle, and we see that across the board on all of its competitors too. The new 3 Series is so much bigger than the old 3 Series, and of course Acura has followed that trend as well. The front track is 1.2 inches wider.
Yep.
The rear track, interestingly, is 1.5 inches wider on the standard TLX, so a little bit wider in the rear than the front. That gives it kind of that classic Hot Wheels design too, right? Definitely something cool. And lower, longer, wider, absolutely the case of the Acura because the roof is now lower by about 0.6 of an inch.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you do that, it makes the car look more purposeful, more aggressive, just more sporty, and I think they have. They've also moved the wheels closer to the corners of the car to give it a little bit more, I suspect, interior room. So let's talk about what everybody wants to know, and that is, of course, the performance. So it comes standard with a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, but let's talk about the horsepower.
Yeah, so 272 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque on the base engine. What's interesting about this is the previous generation had 2 engine options as well. It had a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder and then a V6. Well, the V6 is dead altogether, and so is the 2.4. So the base engine now is a turbocharged unit, similar to what you'll find in other Acura products like the RDX. And the old one had the 8-speed dual clutch and the 9-speed.
And the new one gets a 20-speed.
No, 20. What?
That's where it's going.
Oh, Dad, it gets a 10-speed. No, it's got a 10-speed. So it's got 66 more horsepower than the old 4-cylinder. And the new 2-liter 4-cylinder even has 13 foot-pounds more torque than the V6 that it's replacing.
All right, let's talk about what the Type S gets. Here we're going to have to disappoint you a little bit because we don't have the horsepower numbers.
Oh, why?
Unfortunately, they haven't released those, but we can tell you that it does get a 3-liter twin-turbo V6.
Yeah, so the big engine in the old car was an NA V6, the new one, twin turbos, baby.
I guess I'm going to be disappointed if that twin-turbo V6 doesn't put out more than 300 horsepower.
Well, Acura says that it has dramatic gains in peak horsepower and torque.
So let's speculate. What do you think that means?
Dramatic?
Yeah, what's dramatic? So the base one gets 272, 280. What do you think that means? 100 horsepower more? That would be dramatic.
I'm thinking 1,200, 1,300 horsepower. That's what I would consider pretty dramatic. No, I think you're going to be around
350?
380, 400 would be my bet.
Yeah, I think the Japanese tend to be a little bit more conservative.
So figure they're going to be targeting vehicles like the S4, the BMW M340i, maybe the C-Class.
They're not going after the Hellcat.
C43. Probably not that.
All right, keep going.
So the chassis is a new dedicated platform specifically designed for the car. It's got double wishbone front suspension, variable ratio steering, and an electro-servo brake-by-wire system that's similar to the one you'll find in the NSX. No more hydraulically assisted braking systems like you had in the old car. Really all this means is we're going to have to drive it to see what it actually works.
And as always, Acura says it's 50% stiffer than the old model.
If they ever come up with a car that's like less stiff, eventually like by 2050, they're going to be like, the new Acura TLX, it's a block of granite. It's just going to be
suspension made of porcelain.
Exactly.
There's no give whatsoever. But they're saying it's much more rigid thanks to aluminum and press-hardened steel. Also improved weight distribution through the aluminum, moving the 12-volt battery to the trunk. So now you got to go jumpstart the thing when you leave it at the airport for too long from the trunk as opposed to from the...
It'll probably still be in the hood. Have 2 little prongs. So let's talk about all-wheel drive, right? Yeah. The base model 2-liter is still available in front-wheel drive. Well, it's standard in front-wheel drive, I should say.
Yep.
But there's available all-wheel drive, the Acura Super Handling all-wheel drive, on the 4-cylinder.
Yeah.
And then if you get the Type S with the big twin-turbo V6, that comes standard with the Super Handling all-wheel drive.
Yeah, and the all-wheel drive sends...
Super Handling all-wheel drive.
Super Handling all-wheel drive will send 70% of its power to the rear under normal driving conditions, so it's rear-wheel bias. And it can move all power to the rear wheels from front to back and from side to side. Basically, what Acura has always been done with the Super Handling all-wheel drive, that's a mouthful. It seems like a Japanese video game.
You can call it SHOD. Super Handling.
What they have is real, and I mean real, torque vectoring. So there's 2 kinds, there's more than 2 kinds of torque vectoring, but let's split them up into 2 basic kinds, right? There's a kind where if you go around a corner, the car will brake the inside wheels so that the car goes around the corner better, but that's really not torque vectoring. That's just using stability control to brake the inside wheels.
What you want to do is add power
to the outside wheels, and that's what the Super Handling all-wheel drive does. It actually realistically shifts the power to the outside wheels, making them spin faster, making them go around the corner more easily.
Well.
Yes.
It's really good.
Yeah.
So the Type S, the performance model, comes standard with Brembo brakes, 4 pistons up front, new wheels and tires, 20-inch wheels in the Type S with optional lightweight wheel packages and performance summer tires.
Yeah, so we've got 18 and 19-inch wheels as a standard, then there's 20-inch wheels on the Type S, like you said. And Acura says the new tires offer 20% more lateral grip, Tommy. 20%. How did they get that? Because of the stiffness?
And maybe it's sticky.
Maybe they're stickier. I don't know.
Well, no, not stiffness. The new tires offer 20%.
That's what I said, yeah.
Well, how would stiffness apply to that?
Because, well, a stiffer body allows you to have better suspension, which allows you to have better adhesion.
That the new tires offer 20%
This is what Zach
more lateral grip.
I don't care what Zach wrote. I'm telling you what I think.
Well, I think you're wrong.
All right.
So let's move on to the interior. So exterior, I think, looks brilliant.
Yeah.
Interior, I'm kind of on the fence about. It's a little bit fussy. There's just a lot going on in the center. There's a new 12-inch screen, which is mounted up top. I like that, but I really wish they would have gone more of like the new Mazda or Tesla approaches where it's clean and sleek. This one's just very busy. A lot of control dials, a lot of control knobs throughout the center stack, which I think clutters it up a little bit.
Yeah, they did get rid of that dual screen setup that they had in the old car in favor of more conventional controls. So if you like buttons, the old Porsche setup, then you'll like this.
Push button transmission still.
Yeah, there's like a new push button transmission and a silver rotary dial for different drive modes. So the drive modes are comfort, normal, sport, individual, and by pressing the Acura logo on the dial, you get Sport Plus on the Type S. That means you get that's like the super secret, you know, I'm going around a track, I'm going to go race the guy next to me mode, which in our experience is fun to do, but in real life doesn't do a heck of a lot.
So
It might do something in this one. I don't know. We haven't driven it, but in the past it hasn't been exactly like the game changer that, you know, taking a sporty sedan and turning into a Formula One car.
the new TLX comes with your full suite of safety equipment that you come to expect: adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring, and there's also traffic jam assist if you so desire, and that'll help you in really slow speed traffic situations. When is this car going to be available?
Tomorrow.
No, it's not going to be available.
That'd be cool if it was, wasn't it?
Yep.
It's going to be available sometime in the fall. Now, when we talk to manufacturers, they don't like to be pinned down on a date. So the best you always get is like 3-month, you know, fall, spring. And that's because of the way production works. They don't want to pin themselves down and something like, well, COVID happens and they can't do it. So sometime in the fall, it will be on sale as a 2021 model.
Yep, and then pricing will start about mid-30s. However, we're going to have to wait a little bit closer to launch for final pricing, as well as all the details on the Type S, which is the one that everybody is excited about.
Well, let's talk about where it's built, because that's interesting. Nowadays, people really do care about where their cars come from.
So the transmission is built in Georgia, here in the US. Most of the all-wheel drive components are built in Ohio. The engines are built at the same plant as the NSX engine in Ohio. And then the final assembly, also Ohio. So
yeah,
the Midwesterners are getting lucky here.
Let's talk about the NSX before we wrap this up, because let's face it, the NSX has not been a sales success that I think Acura would have wanted it to be. I think that's fair to say. But the NSX has actually pioneered a lot of the technology that you now see on the new TLX. So, you know, super handling all-wheel drive, a lot of that comes directly out of the NSX. And that's good because, you know, the manufacturers always like to say that these halo cars are kind of a test bed for different technology. And let's face it, most of us can't afford. They dropped the price on the NSX, but it's still well over $120,000, right, if I recall?
Yeah, it's very expensive.
It's very expensive. Most of us can't afford that kind of a car, but we can afford something like this. The biggest question that this, of course, leaves me to ask, once again, is, you know, why didn't they electrify it?
Well, I mean,
you know, you put this up against Type Model 3 on a drag strip, and it's going to get killed, right?
yeah, but it's supposed to be a drag car. It's supposed to be a really well-made, well-assembled, fun-to-drive sports sedan, and I don't think it needs to be electric.
Well, you know, the NSX is electrified.
There's a lot more to a car than just accelerating quickly from 0 to 60.
I just kind of feel like that the Tesla has changed the game and reset the bar. The numbers that car enthusiasts like us use to judge how fun and fast a vehicle is are obviously 0 to 60 times, you know, their track times, because if a car is good on the track, it'll be fun to drive on a twisty road. And I'm wondering, you know, with the Model 3 kind of having reset the 0 to 60 time, and we're talking 3.2 seconds, right?
Yeah, but that's just one metric.
But it's a very important metric.
In this class, I think it's more about driving pleasure and the steering feel and the quality of the materials and the inside and the overall experience. Hey, in this car, in a Model 3, the fun's done in 3.2 seconds, and then you're going to break the speed limit. In this car, it might take 5 or 6 seconds.
Well, guys, let us know in the comments below what you think of the new Acura TLX. Is this something that's on your shopping wish list? I think that they certainly have gone a huge step in making Acura, you know, the brand that I knew when I was a kid, right? Because when I was young, that's when Acura was first introduced with the original NSX, with the Legend, with the Integra. And I kind of feel like Acura is coming out of the woods and, you know, coming into its own again with cars that are lustworthy. And to me, at least, looking at the stats and looking at the pictures, this does feel lustworthy.
Well, head over to tflcar.com for the latest and greatest in new car reveals, because there's a lot more coming up.
See you guys next time. Ciao.